So our next speaker is going to be Arndt Asperger. He's received his Ph.D. in analytical chemistry from Leipzig University, and shortly thereafter joined Bruker as a MALDI PharmaPulse application scientist. Currently, he's a team leader in our Bremen labs and one of our top experts in the MALDI world. And we're going to hear about this is a brand new instrument. An application that we're releasing here at SLAS. So we have plenty of information at the booth. You can come by and talk to us. And Arndt's going to go over all the details of it right now. Thank you, Arndt.
Thank you very much, Mike, for the kind introduction. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody from Bremen. I'm really happy that I can join you in this tutorial session from remote. Still better than not at all, although I have to admit that I regret a lot that I was not able to travel and to join you in person. Yeah, as Mike mentioned, we are really pleased to take the opportunity to introduce to you our latest product that has joined the Bruker PharmaPulse product line. And I would like to introduce you to this new platform within the next couple of minutes. First, I would once again like to thank Matthias Trost for his presentation, because there could hardly be any better contribution in front of my talk. And I really appreciate his presentation. I couldn't see what he was presenting, but I was listening very closely. And that is a really great fit. Look, this was actually supposed to be my first slide to remind everybody once again of the key benefits of mass spectrometry in high throughput screening. But actually, we got a really great proof from Matthias' presentation. So it's probably needless to repeat all this. Just 4 bullet points. Once again, label-free is one key feature of mass spectrometry that I guess everybody of us is appreciating. We can indeed access a partly new target space to drug targets which are otherwise not addressable by label-based uHTS methods. Mass spectrometry is horribly sensitive and specific. That's another key advantage. And as Matthias also pointed out, multiplexing is something that gives us also possibilities to analyze multiple channels, multiple dimensions at a time, which eventually even allows us to further increase sample throughput and reduce sample consumption. Okay, if we maybe have a quick look back into the history of the Bruker PharmaPulse concept, actually, I've put on here two papers, two articles which were probably had a really high impact in the very beginning. One of these was the paper published by Matthias Trost's group in 2014, reporting on the development of the first biochemical enzyme activity assays. And then there was another paper in 2016 from the colleagues at GSK, who actually published kind of proof of concept for ultra high throughput screening by means of high speed MALDI TOF as a reader. And I mean, this kind of prepared the ground for us at Bruker to come up with a commercial solution with the RapiFlex MALDI TOF, high speed MALDI TOF system as a core of it, so that we at SLAS 2017 finally released the RapiFlex MALDI PharmaPulse as the first MALDI HTS solution. And I mean, over recent years, this concept, this solution has made its way into HTS, has started to cover more and more high throughput application, including biochemical assays, cell-based assays, as Matthias has pointed out, are of increasing interest and importance, phenotype screening, but also other applications like binding assays and synthesis screening, meanwhile, have been reported by customers in the field that they can work extremely nice using MALDI TOF as a reader. And also with regard to the throughput that can be managed, what would like to cite one paper from Boehringer in 2020, where they for the first time have published a primary screen, including more than 1 million compounds. So MALDI obviously is able to do the job, MALDI mass spectrometry. And now on the technology side of things, of course, a lot has changed over the last couple of years at Bruker. MALDI mass spectrometry is a key technology at Bruker today, as it was in the past. And now we are really happy to take the next step and to bring MALDI HTS to a next level by introducing a new product. And this is the timsTOF MALDI PharmaPulse, which we are happy to announce and to launch at SLAS 2022 conference. Let me give you a little bit of an introduction what this new platform what the key merits of this new platform are. I mean, the timsTOF MALDI PharmaPulse takes advantage of the extreme speed and proven robustness of MALDI. It uses the 10 kilohertz smart beam 3D laser technology, which we have been using on the Rapiflex system. That means it's the fastest laser technology that is currently available. But now we are able to combine this with all the key features the new timsTOF technology provides. That means we can now use trapped ion mobility spectrometry for ultra-fast separation, as well as for CCAS, so collisional cross-section awareness. And we can use ultra-high resolution QTOF mass spectrometer for readout and can benefit from the high resolution and accurate mass it offers at uncompromised HTS speed. And we are pretty confident that these new technologies allow us to achieve, in the end, a superior level of assay specificity, which should allow us to get new insights into molecular interactions in label-free high-throughput screening. And there's another aspect which I would like to mention in this context. We think that timsTOF MALDI PharmaPulse is particularly powerful and capable also for screening applications in the context of high-throughput experimentation chemistry. When people are in search of new drug molecules, they run highly parallelized high-throughput chemical synthesis and are keen on analytical methods that are able to keep the pace with this. And we think timsTOF MALDI PharmaPulse is really a brilliant solution for this type of application, as I will show you also later on following slides. Now, coming back to the speed of the system, this is a little video taken from the instrument running in an acquisition in high resolution MS mode. And as you see, the system runs at really high speed. That means we can reach up to 3 wells per second at uncompromised MS resolution. And another aspect is that even that we are running at this high speed, the data quality does not suffer, is not compromised at all. That means we are delivering high resolution, highly mass accurate data at high speed over very long periods of time. And this is certainly a key requirement to HTS. On the left-hand side, I have plotted a time plot for the mass accuracy of a particular peptide ion signal. And as you see, we are throughout the entire time window of more than 5 hours, we are within these range of low to sub ppm mass accuracy. And that, of course, you can imagine should have a dramatic influence on the reliability and on the level of confidence of the data we are going to generate. So high resolution and mass accuracy are extremely important for the next step in the processing pipeline. That means to turn the raw data we are generating into meaningful screening results. And I have put on here a few examples of different types of molecules. So in this first example, this is a small sized drug molecule, perfenazine, which has a molecular weight of approximately 400 Dalton. And as you see, the data is of extremely high quality, high resolution, high accuracy, and that means we can run quantitative feature extraction at a very high level of robustness and reliability, as you see in the quantitation graph on the right-hand side. But this is not only possible for small-sized molecules, but even for large-sized peptides. For this, I have taken as an example a ubiquitin, which has at least a molecular weight of 8.5 kilodalton. Even for such large molecules, the system provides data of extremely high quality, so that we can we can assay such larger compounds at a very high level of reliability and robustness. And just to cite here a little experiment, which was kind of a proof of concept study together with people from the DTU in Denmark. So that was actually some pilot study data from a quantitative assay where bioengineered enzyme variants were assayed for their activity by quantifying glucose as a measure of enzymatic conversion. And we used stable isotope labeled glucose as an internal standard. And as you see on the right-hand side, the relative standard deviations were extremely low, between 0.1 and 3.7%, which again represents actually the high level of robustness and reliability at which we can extract features quantitatively from high quality MS data. Now let's turn over to one of the key features of the new system, and this is of course the engagement of trapped ion mobility spectrometry. That means we are now really adding a completely new dimension to HTS, because it's the first time ever that trapped ion mobility is being engaged for HTS. For those of you who are not familiar with ion mobility spectrometry, just a very brief introduction to this. Mass spectrometry is extremely powerful, but where it starts to struggle is if you are exposed to isobaric or isomeric compounds. That means compounds that you are not able to distinguish by mass alone. But what we can do is we can couple ion mobility spectrometry, trapped ion mobility spectrometry to mass spectrometry, and then it is possible to separate such compounds by means of their collisional cross sections, which is a physical property of molecular ions of certain compounds. How does that work? I mean, we have a driving force. This is the tailwind, a certain gas pressure or gas flow rate, nitrogen gas flow rate, and we let the ions travel against a potential gradient. So that means the gas flow and the potential gradient are kind of fighting each other, and by means of this we can achieve a separation, and afterwards by releasing the potential gradient, we are able to release ions sorted by their ion mobilities, and that allows us to achieve a separation effect in a very short period of time. That means the time scale at which we are running is typically below 1 second. If you compare that to other separation techniques, for example, chromatography or at least solid phase extraction for fractionation purposes, that's of course much faster. Trapped ion mobility spectrometry is much faster than these other separation principles. So now we have TIMS in our hands as a fast separation method for isobars and isobars and isomers, and we can use that at a speed which is still HTS compatible. And that allows us to quantify compounds that would otherwise not be distinguished. Just to give you a nice illustrative example, if you think about monosaccharides, for example, glucose and fructose are two compounds that are 100% identical in mass. It means no matter which resolution your mass spectrometer offers, there's no chance to separate these two by mass spectrometry alone. You would always get a composite peak which accommodates both of these monosaccharides, but if we run a fast TIMS separation upfront to mass spectrometry, then of course we can separate these two species, and that means we can also quantify them separately from each other. That means we can determine how much glucose, for example, is in a mixture which contains a stable background concentration of fructose, as it is shown here. So that's, of course, exciting new possibilities which we have available. And if we put this technology now in advanced timsTOF screening operation modes, then these operation modes allow us to efficiently minimize background interferences, which we always have to be aware of when dealing with complex assay matrices. Another nice example is given here. This is an example which we obtained from one of our key customers at Boehringer in Biberach. As you see, this particular compound we could not quantify in MS mode simply because there was a strong overlap with assay background matrix. That means there was no correlation between signal to noise and concentration. But if we then step by step increase the specificity of the assay, for example, by engaging MS-MS, then we could immediately see in response to that how the correlation between signal to noise and concentration started to take off. That means there was a correlation clearly there already over more than 2 orders of magnitude. And if we then also engaged TIMS in front to MS-MS, then we were able to quantify virtually interference-free the target molecule over the entire concentration range, more than 3 orders of magnitude. So this is actually a textbook example how increasing specificity translates into improved analytical performance and enhanced quantitation results. What I have shown you in the previous slides was pretty much focusing on quantitative assays. This is extremely important, but I would also like to show a few more examples how the timsTOF MALDI PharmaPulse can be used for synthesis screening in HTE in search of new drug molecules. I mean, before you can start to screen huge libraries of compounds, you first need to create all these drug molecules or potential drug molecules that are part of a library. And I always love this figure actually from a paper in Science in 2019, because it really shows very nicely the impact of synthesis of compounds as a driver of innovation in drug discovery. And with this in mind, we now actually intend to use the timsTOF MALDI PharmaPulse for near real-time monitoring of synthetic chemistry reaction products, which is based on multiple physical properties. That means by measuring reaction products, we are able to report the accurate mass. We are able to report the isotopic pattern, which tells us something about the sum formula of a compound. And as an additional property, we now can also look at the collisional cross-section, which is of course also a physical property of a compound molecular ion. And on demand, we could even follow up with CID MS-MS acquisition to generate a structure-specific fragmentation data, which would tell us even more details about the structure of a certain compound. And all this we are able to deliver at the speed and throughput of MALDI sampling, which enables us to keep the pace with HTE chemistry experiments. So actually a great concept, which we think will really be of great benefit to the synthetic chemistry departments. Just a little bit of a idea to give you about the data quality. This was a little experiment performed on a panel of 30 drug molecules, commercially available drug molecules, all analyzed by MALDI TIMS MS. As you see on the right-hand side, this is a screenshot from the software, shows you how these signals are developing. They have a certain mass position, they have a CCS value, so a mobility value, and all this can be reported in an export file. And as a result, you see on the left-hand side, we got an overview over all the detected compounds. And as you see from the red colored columns, the quality of the data is really amazing. That means we have extremely low mass errors. That means by accurate mass alone, we have a pretty educated guess about the identity of a compound. Together with the isotopic fit, which is expressed by the millisigma value, we get even higher level of confidence. And then in addition, we have CCS values, which obviously can be measured in a very reproducible fashion, as you see by means of the very low relative standard deviations. Now, if you generate CCS data, then the question is, how can you use this property actually as an identification or verification criteria? In particular, if you're dealing with molecules that are newly designed, for which there is no reference CCS data available actually from databases. And in this context, it's really interesting to see that prediction algorithms are getting better and better and are developing more and more. And here in this diagram, you see the CCS values, which we determined by experiment, matched against predicted CCS values from the source I have given there in the bottom of the slide. And as you see, the matching quality is really amazing. That means by means of this comparison to predicted CCS data, we can nicely use CCS values as a verification criterion, even for compounds for which there is no reference data available from the literature. Okay, just a final example how TIMS can be an advantage in such synthesis screening experiments or workflows. So here on this HTE plate, this is really a well from a HTE synthesis plate. They expected actually a compound with a sum formula of C24H24F7NO4, which should give us a signal at a MOZ value of 524.1666. But what we got was actually a slightly shifted signal. That means if the expected compound was there, there must be a strong overlap with the background signal. So what we did was then we engaged the trapped ion mobility spectrometry device for fast separation. And as you see in the result, in fact, we were able to separate background from target compound. And finally, we got a signal at the expected mass position with a sub-ppm mass error. And the millisigma value of 19 is very low. That means the isotopic pattern is matching the isotopic pattern of the expected compound. So actually a very nice example how TIMS can resolve any interference issues with assay or matrix background. Okay, a last aspect I would like to stress on is a technology which has been recently introduced by Bruker. It's called MALDI-2, and this is actually an additional device which runs on the timsTOF MALDI PharmaPulse and allows us to perform a laser-based post-ionization. And what can we use that for? MALDI-2 enables us to detect compounds that are otherwise barely ionized, either in MALDI or electrospray. So a brilliant example, for example, is the estradiol. Estradiol, if you run a MALDI experiment, you will hardly see any signal. But if you just switch on MALDI-2, then you see a boost in intensity of orders of magnitude. That means you get a much better sensitivity by using MALDI-2. A second example here for negative mode ionization, 5-pentyl-resveratrol. Same effect, virtually no signal in MALDI, but with MALDI-2, we get really a nice signal and can get multiple orders of magnitude boost in sensitivity by the post-ionization. So that can give us access to a chemical space that was so far actually out of scope of MALDI, often also electrospray ionization. Okay, a final few words about the software aspect. Part of the timsTOF MALDI PharmaPulse solution is the MALDI PharmaPulse 2023 software. So that's a dedicated uHTS software supporting the timsTOF MALDI PharmaPulse platform. As you see on the screenshots, it's very similar to what people who have been using the RapiFlex are used to from the previous version of MALDI PharmaPulse. Allows you to set up an execution of screening campaigns at a very high level of convenience. And it also supports all the operation modes supported by the instrument, that means including TIMS and MSMS. It comes with an automation interface for integration with scheduling software from different vendors. And of course, there is a result viewer contained in it that allows you to have an instant look on your data and results, to have a quick evaluation right after the acquisition has finished, or even when it is still running. And probably also pretty important, the software comes with an export interface that allows you to transfer your data and results directly to external software, which you may use for downstream analysis, for example, to gene data screener software. So on the final slide, I have put on once again the entire solution. That means there is hard and software components included in this in the new timsTOF MALDI PharmaPulse solution. The core, I mentioned it, is the timsTOF Flex instrument equipped with a dual MALDI ESI ion source and an autoloader for plate exchange by robot. And optionally, it can be equipped with a MALDI-2. We have disposable MALDI sample plates compatible with any assay format. 1536 is standard, of course, but even higher densities are no problem. A special lightweight plate adapter has been designed for safe handling by robotic arms. And as I have mentioned on the previous slide, a dedicated HTS software supports the instrument in generating high throughput screening data. If you would like to learn more about our new product, then please stop by at the Bruker website. There we have a dedicated solution page where you can also download from the available information material, a brochure and application note. Or otherwise, please stop by at the booth. Our colleagues at SLAS will be happy to meet you at the booth, or alternatively, leave a message at the virtual booth. I'll be there and will be happy to answer your questions there. If you have any instant questions, I'll be happy to take these. Thank you very much for your attention.